Okay, now let's take a look at writing our own functions for the first time. So hopefully at this point you've looked at some code that contains some user-defined functions. You might even have copied and pasted or completed a small assignment with using your own functions. And so we're going to continue that process by looking at some descriptions of some basic functions we can write ourselves. Okay, so this is writing functions 1. I'm going to start off with my leading comments just by habit. And then the first thing I want to do is define my functions, and then I'll call them to test them. So in the learning exercise, problem 1, it asks me to write a function. So I'm going to define a function add that takes two numbers as parameters. I'm going to call them x and y. In general, I want to pick more meaningful names for my parameters, but here, given it's a mathematical function, x and y actually have some meaning here. And it's going to return their sum. So I'm going to simply return sum. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have a variable called sum. So how do I calculate the sum of my two values, x and y? Well, I have to add them together. Okay, awesome. Let's make sure that these work. And if I look over at our learning exercise, it actually asks me to write the Python code that gets two numbers as input from the user and prints out their sum and product by calling the two functions above. So in this particular case, I'm just going to keep going in order because these functions are very simple and I think I can adequately test them at the same time. Okay, so let's write our second function. It's going to be very similar. So I'm going to write a function. So def is the keyword there. It's called multiply. And it's going to take two numbers as parameters again. And don't forget the colon at the end and to indent any of the lines that are within the function. And in this particular function, I'm going to return x times y because I'm returning their product. Awesome. And so finally, now I'm going to test them by getting two numbers as parameters. Now, I could call these variables x, and I could call them y to get input from the user. Input, please enter a number. But I don't actually have to call them. Oh, let me convert these using the eval function. Okay. I don't actually have to name them x and y. I could call them something completely different, maybe n and m, x1, y1, x2, y2, a perhaps, and b. Okay, so the variables that I'm creating don't have to use the same names as the formal parameters in the def line. Okay, so now I'm getting two numbers as input from the user. Now I want to print out their sum and product by using the two functions above. So it's always a good practice to label the output that you're producing. So I'm going to add a and b this time instead of x and y. And then product, I'm going to multiply a comma b. All right. So let's test this and see how it works. Okay, so it says please enter a number. I'm going to enter number 4 and 5. The sum is 9, the product is 20. My program works correctly.